Hey everyone, it's a new month here in the Halifax real estate market, and we want to get straight into the detail of March to show you exactly what happened in the market. Okay, let's go straight into it and give you the average sale price for the month of March here in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and that came in at $639 and just over half, like $600,000. Which, when you look at last month that was at $637,700. So it didn't really change too much compared last month to this month. I think it's like $1,900 or something. So not really enough to actually move the needle and even trigger like a percent in the difference. And the reason that we want to concentrate on this is if you are thinking of moving here to Halifax, or if you're thinking of selling and buying the next house, or if you're thinking of selling and going down a size, then I'm Richard Payne and we need to have that conversation. So click on one of the links and let's get into it. But the big thing we're seeing here, as well as not only did we hit $639,000, but on average, the list price for that was $637,000, which gives us 100.4% sale to list price. So when you look at it, it's like $2,000 difference. And it's not really that much. When you look at all of the activities that have happened and everything that's gone on in all the different markets that, yes, we will actually get into, you can see that it just didn't really change too much compared to list price to sale price. But, and here's the big caveat, we always want to look at, yes, there's kind of like three prices when you get into real estate: list price versus sale price. Because it's kind of, let's talk about it. There's two list prices. The first list price is the original list price. So when it first came onto the market, what was the price that the realtor and the sellers decided to put on the price of that house when it first went to market? That's what we're going to call the original list price. The second list price, that's the price that it actually was at when it went conditional and had an offer accepted on it. So when we talk of the 100.4% sale to list price, 637 versus 639, that's the list price in the middle. That's the one that it was when it actually went conditional. What we want to look at is, well, okay, but were there price reductions? Because we've been saying this now for the last, I'd say 3, maybe even 5 episodes of this, when we've been looking at the actual average price reductions to get to the point where you get the list price that actually gets you an offer that a willing buyer and a willing seller accept and then go through conditions and goes sold. So let's take a look at that number. So that number was $645.5 thousand. So when we look at that number, 645, and we look at the list price that it was when it actually went sale, and then we look again at the actual sold price. So let's go with sold price, 639 and 645. So that gives you a $6,000 difference. Great. Now let's look at the kind of fourth number, which is what was the price reductions that had to be done for those? Now, caveat to this, only for those that actually had a sale drop in the area to get to that list price. So let's look at that now. The average sale drop there was $29,500. Specifically, we'll go into some certain markets because remember, not every house had to do a price drop to actually get you to the point where you got to an offer price. That's not what happened. So we'll cover those later, but that was a $29,000 price drop on average across the whole of HRM for the houses that were listed high. Now, those are only the price drops for the ones that actually went conditional and have actually gone sold as well. So there is definitely more price drops out there in the market than just these ones here. So when we talk about the number of sales, 320 houses were sold in the month of April. Now we compare that to last month, that was 277. So we're up 16% in terms of volume of activity, number of houses sold in the month of March when we compare it to February. Compare it to the same month last year. So March last year, that was at 309. So we're only 4% higher than that. So it's not a big shift from March 24 to March 25, but it was a fairly chunky shift on February. And then I want to talk about the number of houses that are active, because this is going to lead us into another conversation a little bit later on. So stay tuned for that one, because that's an important conversation to have. But the number of homes that are active right now are 707 homes. 668 was that number last month. So we're only up about 6% compared to last month. And 648 was last year. So we're up like 9% on last year. So the number of actives has gone up. But because the sales went up, we've not seen a dramatic increase in the number of active inventory months on the market. We're only at 2.2 months. Now, last month that was at 2.4. Last year it was 2.1. So again, when we talk about like what kind of a market are we in? Well, less than 5 months, that's a seller's market. And we've been there now for, it feels like 3 years, maybe even 4 years. So again, the days on market have increased. The days on market are definitely longer than, say, 3 years ago when we were in a really strong seller's market. But because we're sitting at like 700 homes for sale, buyers do actually have a choice. They can take a little bit of time. Now, a bit of advice for the buyers, you can't take a lot of time. Like I've had a client, we've been looking at houses and literally before he can even get on the plane to come here and look at the house, even though we've done the virtual tour for him, he can't get an offer in quick enough because it then goes conditional with somebody who's either already here in the market. So if you're moving from out of province to Nova Scotia, that's something you're really going to want to consider because the good houses that are priced well in good areas, and we've had a couple of those in my kind of neck of the woods, Fall River, in the last month, those are the ones that are actually going pretty quick. And this one that my client was looking at was over in Upper Tantallon, Frenchman's Village. And again, it was only 4 days on the market before it actually had an offer. So like things are definitely moving quick. The number of days on market, we're sitting here right now and we're looking at 36 days on market. It was 41 last month, so we've improved 5 days on that. And it was 39 last year, so we've improved 3 days on that. But it's still over a month. But again, here's the thing for buyers. It's not over a month when you see that house that's in your price range, it's priced really well, and it's in good condition for the location. You need to jump on that. Like it's happened too many times over the last 30, 40 days that I've seen this happen, not just to my clients, but from other agents as well. So when you see those properties, you have to just jump on them. We have reduced HST price now. We've obviously got the reduced carbon tax. Probably there is another interest rate drop coming up in the middle of April as well. So this is all pointing, and yes, we do have the election coming up at the end of April, but these are all pointing to factors that mean our market is starting to kind of bubble along again. We're starting to see houses go quickly. So don't sit around, take the action. Otherwise, in 3, 4, 5 months' time, you're probably going to regret that decision. Okay, let's have a little talk about sale to new listing ratio, because this is another one that can kind of give you a little bit of an idea as to where the market is heading. Now, in the month of March, our sale to new listing ratio was 65% because new listings were 496. The sales we just discussed were 320. So you can see that, yes, we listed quite a lot at 496, but then the sales jumped up as well. So we actually came down to 65%. Last month, that number was 77%, and last year, that number was 82. So we've got that downward trend, which is going to start eating into the inventory. And yes, days on market did come down. So that's kind of heading in the same direction as well. But inventory went from 2.4 months down to 2.2 months as well. So again, when you start seeing that sale to new listing ratio start trending downwards, like it is now, 77 down to 65, that means that the inventory is being eaten up in the same way that we're putting houses on the market. So it's definitely shifting a little bit, and you can see that kind of like that bubbling of what's going on and that feeling of sentiment in the market is that the buyers are out there. And, and even now we look at that, okay, we'll forget the fact that we've had to do price drops, but we're looking at basically sale to list price being the same number as well. So that again gives you the story that the buyers are feeling confident in the prices and they're actually going to head to put them on the market, write the offers, and then things are going pretty quickly, either unconditional or even sold. So that's another thing to watch out for from a buyer point of view. Going back to what I was talking about earlier, when we look at the number of new listings, we're up at 496 new listings. It was only 358. But one of the things I wanted to do is just have a little look at like the new listings in terms of like how many are coming on, compared to last year, because last year in the same month, that number was 378. So we're like over 120 houses this month in March compared to what we listed this month in March last year. Now, what happened last year is that in April, there was a huge uptick, more or less like double the amount of listings came on in April last year compared to March last year. So given that it looks as though we put like an extra 100 and something houses on the market in terms of new listings coming to the market in March, I'm not expecting April then to see that kind of like doubling of that number. I think everybody brought a lot of their plans forward compared to last year. And we actually took some of those, what would be April listings, and put them on in March instead. Now, it could be down to the weather, could also be just down to that sentiment and that feeling in the market that interest rates are coming down and houses are starting to move. So I think that's one of the things that we've got to look at now is that, okay, I don't think April is going to be such a strong listing month. I think there'll be quite a few people that'll be buying in that month. So I can see inventory coming down. I think days on market are probably going to stay the same, but I think we're going to eat into that inventory break and bring it like kind of further down towards like 2 months or even 1.9 months of inventory. Okay, let's have a little look at some price ranges here, because we've seen an awful lot of activity in that kind of middle range. And I'm always saying that that kind of like 450 to 600 seems to be the busiest range that everybody's going for, because that's probably for most people in terms of a qualification point of view where they're actually going to be. But let's have a look at the actual numbers and see kind of like, that bell curve. Let's see where everybody is. So in the 0 to 400 range, there was only 14 homes that were actually sold in March. So again, not a lot of homes in that range that are priced there. So again, not a lot of activity. Then we get to the 4 to 500. That was 64 homes, and we're talking 20%. So basically a fifth of all the homes sold were in that 4 to 500 range, and there's quite a bit of competition in there. Then we hit 5 to 6. That was 86 homes, and that was 21%. 6 to 700,000, that was at 68 homes, 21% again. So when you look at the price range, kind of stacks up, but it seems to have spread a little bit. Like definitely the 5 to 600, that's kind of the sweet spot. That's the most sales. We're talking almost a quarter of homes that were sold in that price range. So that's where everybody seems to be concentrating. But it's surprising when you go 6 to 7 and the 4 to 5 range. There's also like literally a fifth of homes being sold there. So if you kind of look at the 4 to 700 range, that's really where almost 2/3 of our properties are actually being sold. And then when we kind of creep up over that, getting to the 7 to 800,000, there's 45 homes sold. 8 to 900, 17 homes. But this is an interesting one, because when you look at the 9 to 1 million, that's 12, over 1 million, 14. That gives you 26 homes that were sold, kind of getting towards 10% of the homes sold at 900,000 and over. So there is still quite a lot of those higher price points that are actually selling here in Nova Scotia right now. Now, top markets, the top 3, well, we'll give you a clue. There's 4 actual top markets this time. So we have a first, a second, but we also have a joint third. Now, number 1, we are at Timberley Prospect, St. Margaret's Bay, Upper Tantallon area. Their average sale price was just over $600,000. Average list price, $604,000. But the average original list price there was $626,000, and there were 10 homes that actually were sold of the, let's have a look, 34 homes sold, so a third of them actually had to do price drops, and the average price drop that those 10 homes had to do was $74,000. That's a big price drop, and that tells you that obviously there were some deals in that area where people had really had to recorrect and actually bring the prices down. So like we said, 34 homes sale there, 106 that are active. That gives them 3.1 months of inventory, which is quite a good number there. 36 days on market, so just over a month. And again, 99.4% sale to list price when they actually got that offer. So that was the number 1 market in Timberley. Number 2, we are up in East Hants, Colchester West, Enfield, Elmsdale, Lance kind of area again. Average sale price there of just under $498,000 with an average list price of, let's call it 502. That gives them a 99.2% average sale to list price. 46 days on market, 30 homes sold, 83 that are active, giving them a 2.8 months of inventory. And again, let's look at the average original list price there. That was $510,000. But of the 8 homes that actually had to do a price reduction, the average price reduction was just shy of $31,000. So again, going back to the number one market, Timberley as well, you can see that when we do price reductions, some of these price reductions are pretty chunky numbers to get us to the list price when they actually go sold. Now, joint third place, we have Sackville as well as Beaverbank, Upper Sackville. Now, the Beaverbank, Upper Sackville, will explain a little bit more about that, but that's bringing in Middle Sackville into that area as well, which is fairly popular right now. So looking at Sackville, we are at $555,000 average sale price, 553 listed there. So they're one of the few ones that actually, when you look at the sale to list price, they're actually over 100.4%. So not too much over, but 100.4, it's still equivalent of around about $2,000 that they'll extra get over asking price there. 16 days on market, and again, we're looking at 25 sales, only 17 active there. So that's putting them at 0.7 months of inventory. So again, Sackville is such a popular market. Surprising that we're up at like $555,000, 520 is kind of more where it's been actually sitting, but there's obviously been some properties there that have gone a little bit higher than that number to get them that higher average sale price. There are only 4 homes in that area that actually had to do price reductions, but the average of those price reductions, looking at numbers there, was $37,000. So again, you can see that people are having to do some pretty good price reductions to actually get to the point where they're getting offers. And that was on Sackville, the number 3 market. So the joint third as well, same thing, 25 home sales for Beaverbank, Upper Sackville, although it does actually include Middle Sackville. So I should probably start calling it Middle Sackville, Beaverbank, because there wasn't a lot that actually sold in Upper Sackville here. It was more Middle Sackville that was the number driver. So 25 homes sold, 70 that were active, puts them at 2.8 months of inventory and 47 days on market. Looking at the average price there, and again, this is where you'll see that more of the Middle Sackville is coming into play, which of course is Indigo Shores, is $710,000 with a 715 average list price there, giving them a 99.4% sale to list price. In this market, there was only 6 homes that actually had to do a price reduction, but the average price reduction there was $39,000. So, quite a big drop in that area, but it goes when you understand that, of the 25 homes that were sold, 10 of those were actually in Indigo Shores, which were definitely at a much higher price point. So that's going to lean in more into that. Number one, the higher price point, because Beaverbank, $714,000, doesn't sound right. But it's not when you call it Middle Sackville and you bring in Indigo Shores. A couple of ones there that were over $1 million, but the average price point in Indigo Shores is definitely kind of in the 8 to let's say 850 range. So if you've got this far, you are clearly wanting to know and understand the Halifax market, which may mean that you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in here. And if that is the case, I would love to be your agent of choice and actually help you go ahead and make the move, make the right decisions in the right market at the right prices, so we can actually get you on that real estate journey. If that is the case, then my contact details are down below and I would love to have a conversation.